The CEO, George Kurtz, joins us now. Thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Thanks.
This note, your recent results and the note that goes into them in detail points out that you had 84% year-over-year revenue growth for the most recent quarter. I was wondering to what extent you think that's market share gains or fundamental structural growth for your industry as a whole.
Well, it's certainly market share gains. If you look at the IDC numbers, which is an analyst report, we went from 3% market share to 6%. So even though we have a still relatively small market share, you can see the numbers reflect tremendous growth. And we're certainly outgrowing our competitors in that space because of our cloud-based platform, which delivers more value and better protection to our customers.
But to what extent has greater cloud adoption across all sorts of industries, partly because of COVID, helped boost your growth? And to what extent do you feel like that might be bringing forward growth that you otherwise would have seen in years ahead?
Well, there's a lot of talk about work from home. We look at it as work from anywhere, and that's more of a sustainable trend. And what we found is that companies have to go through a security transformation before they go through a digital transformation. And that's a longer-term journey for many companies as they move to the cloud, as we protect their cloud workloads. We talked on our last earnings call about protecting 1 billion cloud workloads every day, containers that are up and down. So it's an amazing opportunity for us. And it's not about pulling revenue forward. It's more a sustainable trend that we see going into the future.
You put out a report that I read recently about the intrusions, all the threats that are happening out there and how this year is so much worse than previous years. Talk about, George, what you're seeing. What kind of attacks, what kind of companies are being attacked, and what we need to know.
Yeah, I think every company you can imagine is being attacked, and from every industry. And with our cloud-based software, we see it across 176 different countries where we have our technology deployed. And I would say one of the biggest areas that we continue to see is e-crime, ransomware as a service. There's almost a day that doesn't go by where we don't get a phone call from someone who isn't a customer saying, please help us, our system just got encrypted. We basically can roll out, help them recover from that, and then put them on our CrowdStrike Falcon technology, which is focused on preventing that ransomware from getting in the future. We see nation-state actors. When we think about COVID-19, research, therapeutics, all of the information that people want access to is highly targeted and sought after by many countries around the globe. It's been a very active year.
Which countries in particular?
Well, we certainly see China as an active country. They traditionally have gone after intellectual property in the past. They continue to do so. But it's not just them. You know, we see North Korea, we see other countries that are out there. Everyone has an active program in trying to figure out what's happening with COVID around the world.
What about election risk in particular, George? What have you seen as we get into the election, especially versus last time around, 2016?
I think the good news is there's a heightened awareness in 2020 versus 2016 of what can happen. And from a CrowdStrike perspective, we work with federal, local, and state governments, not only here in the U.S., but around the globe, but particularly in the U.S. to make sure that those systems can be protected. Obviously, a lot of the balloting is still done, in person with paper, but it is something that we have to keep an eye on. And we have to make sure that we safeguard the integrity of the election, and cybersecurity is a key element to that.
In the Goldman Sachs note, George, it referred to the fact that your customer acquisition costs were declining in something that was an expensive area for your industry over the last decade. How much further can that fall?
Well, we look at customer acquisition cost as something that we focus on a daily basis, right? And if you look at our last earnings call, we talked about our magic number being 1.3. That's a measure of sales efficiency, which is on the very high end of the spectrum. And it's because the platform continues to sell to our customers. They buy one piece of technology. It's a single agent architecture. They can add many more other modules from our Falcon platform with very little sales cost to us, very low friction. And that's part of our secret sauce and our magic. It isn't a traditional software model. It's a software as a service model. And once you try the product, it's very easy, just like Salesforce, to try new modules. And that's why we look at ourselves as really as a Salesforce of security.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.